Hey everybody, this is Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and today I'm heading to Hagerstown, Maryland to the 4-State Comic-Con. Now this is a show that I went to about a year ago. I just happened to stop by because my wife and I were traveling, and we'd made a point to stop by and just check it out, see what kind of show it was. And it turned out to be a really good show. They had some really good dealers that I had not seen before. There's definitely some local dealers that I've seen, but there were different people there, and they had a great selection of books, as well as other things besides comics. They had a lot of toys, a lot of cosplay. So it's just a fun little con. I know they've got some guests, but none that I'm really familiar with. But I'm going to run in today. This is the second day of the con, and I've got about 5 hours to look for comics and see if I can pick up any of those books from my 2023 goals list. We will see if there's anything else I pick up, but I will try to do some footage, but I'm going to look for the comics first, and if at the worst, what you're going to end up seeing is the comic book haul. Hopefully we'll find some things. Excuse me. But I will try to do some footage from the show as well if I've got time. But stay tuned, and hope you enjoy whatever this video ends up being today. All right, guys, so I just got finished going to the 4-State Comic-Con here in Hagerstown, Maryland at the Hagerstown Community College. It was very much just like last year, same location in their gymnasium. And as it was last year, there was a few comic book dealers, some that I knew, some that I recognized from last year, and some that I didn't know at all. And there was a lot of artists there that I'm not really familiar with, any of them. And there were other things being sold there as well. You had a lot of cosplay type places that would accessorize your outfits and help with that. And then there were some celebrities of some minor note that had no interest for me whatsoever. So we'll just gloss over that. In fact, I don't think I filmed anything from that. But if you're interested in finding out about who was at the show and who's going to be at their next 4-State Comic-Con up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, I'm sure you can look them up online. Just do a quick Google search and you'll be able to find that. But I ended up going there, and I ended up talking with all the dealers that I know, and I've seen just about every show in the Baltimore area. And I ended up going around the show, talked to them, and really was doing what I normally do. Go look at books on the wall to see if there's anything that's jumping out that's on that wish list for 2023. And there were some big books that I was pretty interested in. And just so you know, one of the things, you saw it in the header clip, the title graphic, I had my eyes on a Spider-Man 129. And we'll get into that, whether I got it or not, and I'll tell you all about that part as well. But generally, I went around the show multiple times, kind of writing down some of the books that some of the dealers I liked, but I didn't find a lot of stuff on my list other than a few books here and there. And so it was a while before I finally pulled the trigger and ended up buying something. So sit back, enjoy the footage from the show, and then we'll come back, and I will be home at that point, and I will sit down and we'll go through the books, and I'll tell you the story about issue 129. So I hope you enjoyed the footage from the 4-State Comic-Con in Hagerstown, Maryland. So as you saw, there was a lot of stuff going on there. I probably didn't even cover half of that while I was filming, but I hope I gave you a pretty good idea of what the show was like. There were definitely some good comic book dealers there, and there's definitely a lot of other things of other interest. This ended up being more of a pop culture con rather than just a Comic-Con. There were a lot of cosplay. There were cosplay dealers there that would help you accessorize your outfits. There were plenty of other actors and voice actors that were there. I didn't really, be honest with you, that's not something I'm really that into, so I wasn't paying too much attention to that. So there were definitely some minor celebrities there. A lot of manga, a lot of anime. They were definitely some different things with that. So there was a little bit for everybody there, but it was not that crowded, as I come to understand that Saturday, the day before, was very crowded. And the dealers that I know that were there that I got to talk to, they said that they did real well on Saturday, so I was happy for them for that. And for me, I ended up, this whole show for me right now, and the shows I'm going to, I'm really focusing on my 2023 wish list, my goals list, and I'm trying to stay tight to it. Sometimes I'll deviate out of it, but for the most part, I'm trying to stay to that list. And it's a big list, and it's a big range. There are small books on there to mega keys. And this one right here, I will always keep an eye out on those mega keys because they're going to cost a lot of money. I need to review a show. When I go into a show like this, I will walk the room, circle it. I will make note of any books that I see on the wall where these keys will be, and then I will look for other minor books before I even start digging into the bins or anything, and I will kind of make a list, and I'll go around the room, and I ended up doing that, and I checked with the dealers that I know. I talked with them a little bit, and then the dealers I don't know, I checked out what they had on their walls and everything, and I wasn't finding a lot. There was a few things there that I was definitely going to go back and check out at a few spots. But at the very end of the room, one of the last dealers that was there had a raw copy of Spider-Man 129. You saw it in the graphic, in my title graphic. I teased this, what was I going to do? And I was prepared. I was prepared to make a deal because they had the price tag on there. And it was in that ballpark where I felt like with cash and a couple of the really nice slab books I had on me, that I could possibly make a deal for that. But of course I would have to have a chance to take a look at the book first and see if it was something where I felt like I could press it up higher than what it was currently sitting at. Some pressable defects were one thing, and I just want to make sure that book was complete, things like that, because it was a good price, but it was still going to be really expensive. So I kind of sat back, and I didn't immediately just go up to the dealer, hey, let me look at that book and let's do this. First of all, I kind of wanted to go around the rest of the room and then start on that second lap, start taking some time and looking at some of the lesser keys, some of the more they're all much more affordable keys, but I wanted to do that because those are easier goals. Well, less expensive goals sometimes. But what I ended up doing was I started the room over again. One of the first bigger dealers I went to, right there on the wall, there was my Spider-Man 294 Kraven's Last Hunt, and I took a look at it, and the price was really good, reasonable, but boy, there's still that little spine tick. Just like the last Comic-Con I went to, Big Lick Comic-Con, every issue of 294 I'm finding has at least one little tick to it, and it's not going to get that 9.8. So as much as I love that cover, I've already got my 9.6 in that. I don't need another 9.6. I'm looking for that 9.8 candidate. So I passed on that, but right beside it, they had a copy of Spider-Man 50. And it's on my list. It's new on my list. It's just like one of those things that, like, you really need to go ahead and start getting a copy of some of these bigger keys like this. And I took a look at it, and actually that was going to be more expensive than that Spider-Man 129 I was looking at. It was in, I'd say it was in that, it's definitely in that mid-grade condition. And to be honest with you, I hadn't priced that well enough to know if that was going to make a good deal on that or not. I've got to do a little bit more research on the rolls on that versus the prices. Graded books are one thing, that's pretty easy, but for a roll, you've got to get it right, or you're going to overspend for something, and I didn't want to make a mistake on that. The 129, I'm prepared for. The Hulk 181s, I'm prepared for the prices at certain grades, but that issue 50, I just was not prepared, so I passed on it. So after that dealer and then going through the rest of the room, I ended up spending several hours just kind of slowly making my way back around these dealers again, this time taking my time at the remaining dealers to see if there's any other of these lesser keys. So over the next few hours, I ended up spending time at the remaining dealers looking for these books that are on the list. And at another dealer, I ended up finding a real nice copy of Spider-Man 122, The Death of the Green Goblin, and a Fantastic Four 112. And both of those I own, but at grades I would definitely love to improve. And these were good copies that they had on the wall, but the conditions I just didn't feel like were going to meet the standard for me to upgrade. Plus, how much they were in cost, plus the grading, I just wasn't going to take the chance on those. So I passed on them, and that's what I felt like I was doing a lot of today. I would go in and I'd find a few of these keys, and it just price wasn't meeting the condition. And I'm not looking for lesser conditions in a lot of cases. I'm looking for much better grades, like John Byrne X-Men. I'm looking for really high grade stuff in rolls. And surprisingly, I didn't find a lot of John Byrne X-Men today. That kind of surprised me, even slabbed or in roll. There were definitely some rolls there, but it was a lot of things I already had. And so I ended up, for once, I didn't get any John Byrne X-Men at a show. So at this point, I really feel like I'm just keeping my powder dry and waiting to get back to that Spider-Man 129. I'm working my way back through the room, and then I come across a dealer that is local in the Maryland area here, and they always have some really good books. And sometimes you can find some good prices on it. Sometimes I think they're a little overpriced, but they had a copy of the other book in my title graphic. It's when I found the Silver Surfer #3, the first appearance of Mephisto. And that's also a book that is an overall, you need to get this book in your collection type book. It's not part of that 2023 goals list, wish list. It's an overall wish book. And I was prepared. I was prepared to maybe possibly bypass that Spider-Man 129 and get this book too, or get this book instead. And I did a little research a little bit later on, because I put it back. I just marked it down. I keep a little notebook and I keep the notes, and I'm like, I'll circle back on this. And it had some pressable defects. It was actually pretty nice, but the way I looked at it was, I didn't think it would grade out any higher than a 7.5. And if you look up the prices of a slab 7.5, you could buy that straight up at that grade pretty much for what they were charging for this roll. And honestly, I think I would have to have had that book at least a couple $100 less to make it worth me getting it and then pressing, cleaning, getting it into CGC, the cost of grading a book that old, plus a book that valuable, and the shipping too, to and from. So I just felt like I was going to end up overpaying. I didn't think they would come down even that much. I might have gotten them down $100. I don't think I could have gotten them down $200. So yeah, that Silver Surfer that I teased in the title graphic, I bypassed. It'll come back around someday. It'll come back around. I'll find that at some point. I'm convinced right now that you can find some really good deals out there, but you just need to be patient and be open to some things. I was open to that book today. It wasn't, again, on the 2023 list, but an overall list. So that's what I mean by being open and being flexible. But hey, I still had that 129 back in the room, waiting for me to get there. And after about 4 laps around the room, and this is over the course of, wow, probably 3 to 5, well, not quite 5 hours, I finally made it back there, and I was prepared to make a deal. They had a price tag on there that I felt like was in the ballpark about what I wouldn't say wanted to pay, but what I felt like I could work with, especially with me having cash on hand and having some really good slab books with me that I could hopefully work out a deal with. And so I went back and I finally talked to one of the two guys who were running that booth, and he was able to give me the book. Well, he took it out of the bag and board. He said it was complete, and I didn't really need to get into the book at that point. At the first thing I'm just going to do is I'm going to inspect the cover and see if it's going to meet that kind of need to be a book where I felt like I could clean and press it, bump it up a little bit. Did it have pressable defects, or did it have defects that would prohibit it from being upgraded? So I ended up taking a look, and I tell you, the corners on that cover were really nice. The cover did have some slight bends and wrinkles to it that I felt like it would have pressed out perfectly fine. And you're wondering, Russ, you're taking too long here. Did you pull the trigger? Did you get the book? I mean, you're teasing this thing the whole time here, guys. Did I get the book? Well, the short answer is no, I didn't get the book. I passed on it. And as much as I think it would have pressed out really good on the cover and sharpened up those corners a little bit, what scared me to death was the defects that I saw around the staples. It felt like if you pressed just a little too much, I think you could have popped one or both of those staples off of that cover. I think it was hanging on, not quite for dear life, but it was too close for comfort, and especially to drop probably over $1,000 on a book and then have that kind of issue. I couldn't do it. And again, a little disappointing. I'm very disappointed because I was this close and it just didn't happen. And what am I going to do? I'd rather walk away, find that book again at some other day, and take my chances on something else. But now I'm left with, I've got probably just a little over an hour left in the show. Over 4 hours of walking around, looking at books, looking at keys, and here you guys have been patient with me. If you watched this long, you realize, Russ, you haven't shown a single comic book. Did you get anything at this show? And the answer is, yeah, I did. And I don't want to say I was desperate, but at this point, I knew I wasn't going to get any of the books really from my goals list. I wasn't going to get any of those big keys, and I definitely wasn't going to get any of those ones like the Silver Surfer #3. I wasn't just going to drop the money because that wasn't cheap either. And I wasn't going to do it. A lot of the dealers, well, there was a handful of dealers in there that had some really good books. There were really good books at this show, but I felt like a lot of them are still having prices for what are 2022 prices, 2021 prices, or they're graded prices, not raw prices. So with just a little over an hour left, I did a quick sweep around the room, and what am I going to get at this point? Well, what happened was that last hour, there were a couple dealers that ended up putting boxes on sale for 50% off. And okay, well, I ended up stopping at one dealer that I had bypassed because they had none of the keys I was looking for. But they did have some nice Bronze Age, Copper Age books that, these are things that are interesting. These are just general books that you wouldn't mind having in your PC. And I'm going, okay, let's just start digging through. And I happened, a couple things he had sticking out of the box. I'm like, oh, that's intriguing. Let's take a look at that. And so in the end, yeah, we did. We got a few books. And I got them all from one dealer, and it was 50% off. And these were just spur of the moment once. And there's a couple in here that I think are grayed out. They're actually books that if you get them graded, get that 9.8. And both of these are candidates. I mean, that's why I picked them up. 9.8, you're talking over $100, maybe $125, maybe $150, depending on the market right now. I haven't double checked, but both of those books, if you get those 9.8s, are real solid books to get graded. And the other ones, though, are definitely ones that were just for fun. So let me just go through these real quick. No speculation, just fun stuff. I had been wanting to get this for a while. This is Invaders #17, and you've got, this is Warrior Woman. And I don't know, there's just something always intrigued me about this. What is it about beautiful Nazi villainesses? I don't know. There's something intriguing, right, guys? Or am I just being weird? But I'd always wanted to have this copy. I'd always liked this cover. So I had a little bit of a run of Invaders books there. And I didn't have a lot of those as a kid, but they did have some early issues. And I ended up, this is one of my favorite covers from the 70s. I remember having this issue. This is issue number 3. And you've got this wonderful Romita cover with Cap and Submariner and the Human Torch on there. This is definitely one of those favorite covers. And I got this because, hey, I just love this cover. And fun book to have. And I didn't pick up books that were in bad condition, not just to have. Every one of these are really nice copies. And I had a price tag of $10 on there. So, $5 for this, $5 for that. I didn't end up spending a lot of money. So I picked up issue number 4. That's got the U-Man on there. And I thought it was just a nice clean copy. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of these when I was growing up, but I had a handful. This right here is a book that I wish I had bought the 9.8 version of it when it was on eBay, on Heritage Auctions. And I passed on it because I felt like the price was a little too high. Come to see later on, it's like, no, I should have bought that. I should have bid that up a little bit more and tried to get it, because trying to find this book in a near mint, well, I say better than near mint condition, has been a little difficult. It's not a big mission, but it's something I'm trying to do. I picked up another copy of Walt Disney's The Adventures of Robin Hood, the very first issue. Now, this issue won't get to be a 9.8. It's a pressable candidate. I'll probably get this up. This is a book that won't get graded, but I probably will press it just to see how good a condition I can get it into. Fun book. And again, this is a book, he had a price tag of $8. So $4 for this. These are not big investments, but they're fun books. And here's one from my childhood, and they had a couple other issues from this run, but I didn't have the other ones as a kid. I kind of got these because I had these as a kid. And this is E-Man number 2 and E-Man number 3. I had both of those as a kid, and I just realized that this number 3, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it says UK on here, so it has 6 pence. I don't know if that's they just printed that and had the UK price on all of them. I mean, you got the 25 cents up here, but I don't know if it's a variant that was from a UK or not. But I had both of those, and I had several more of the E-Man series. I always enjoyed that as a kid, and I know that who is it? Is it Joe Staten? Is that how you say his name? He's usually at Baltimore Comic Con, maybe Heroes Con. I may take these with me just to get signed, just for fun. Nothing I'm going to get graded or anything, but these were books from my childhood. Enjoy reading these. I'll probably bang these out of the book and read these here later tonight. And then the last couple issues I picked up from this dealer, and I said I picked up a couple of books in here that I know that at high grade, they will actually grade out pretty well, and you can get a good price for them. This is the Daredevil 227. This is the first issue of the Born Again series by Frank Miller and Dave Mazzucchelli. And yeah, good issue. Again, he's got it graded as a 7.5, but for $7, there's no spine ticks on this. And I'm like, take a chance. That'd be fine. He had a copy of issue 467 of the Uncanny X-Men, and you've got this wonderful Psylocke cover. It's a cover I haven't done a lot of research on, but I know that's real popular. Psylocke has always been a very popular character, especially when they do covers like this. And then I picked up this. This is definitely the other. When I say there's 2 of these, I think will grade out high and can be fairly valuable. X-Men number 1 from X-Men Adventures number 1. And this is a book I've had good success on getting 9.8s. I also have had one of my biggest failures on one of my copies, and it got a qualified grade on it. And I'm like, what the heck happened with that? What did I miss? So it's a stinker. It's in one of my boxes here at the house. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. It's just going to sit there. And then the last one I bought, it was the book that I bought it because of condition and bought it because I remember this character as a kid reading some of the old DC comics that I had inherited from my grandmother's house. Well, I basically went into her house and was attic treasure hunting, and I'm sure these are some books that were left over from one of my uncles, my youngest uncle there, and he had some DC comics that, of course, you have house ads and you would see characters on them. And one of those characters was Captain Action. And I had never seen this book, but it's like, man, this just took me back to my childhood. And this is issue number 1 of Captain Action. And he had a $10 price tag on this. And for a late 60s book, 12 center, this is a really nice, sharp copy. And I'm going for, well, $10, and I paid $5 for it. This is a book, I don't mind taking a shot on something like this. It's going to be interesting looking this up and seeing what a graded version of something like this would be like. Fun stuff. In all, I spent a total of $35 minus the price of the ticket. I mean, I think the ticket was $10. So total of $45 spent today. That's not too bad considering I literally was about ready to drop over $1,000 for another comic book. So I came out ahead, kept the powder dry. I'm going to move forward to the next show, and then I'm still waiting for the next really big show, which is going to be Heroes Con in June down in Charlotte. Can't wait for that. But there'll be a few local shows before that, and if any of these big 3 comics show up, Spider-Man 129, Giant Size X-Men 1, Hulk 181, at a price where I think I can work at it with cash and trade, yeah, I'll pull the trigger before I get to Heroes Con and see what's down there. But on the other hand, I will continue looking for these lesser keys, these Spider-Man 294s, for example, a really, really great copy of Avengers 186, things like this. Those are affordable, but hard to find. So that's what makes this fun, this challenge. I love this hobby. I love going out there and trying to complete these little runs that I'm working on, as well as occasionally just reverting back to buying good old-fashioned comic books for the fun of it. And that's what today ended up being. The overall thing was, it was just fun to find some things. It was fun talking to the dealers that I know. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching the footage from the show. They will have another 4-state Comic-Con. The next one, I think, is in August, but it will be up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I may have to check that out, but as I work on Saturdays, it's a little hard. It would be a little hard and a little bit further for me to get here from the Baltimore area up to Harrisburg in time. It's it's more like an hour and a half to hour and a quarter, depending on how far exactly where it is. But maybe I'll check that out in August. We'll see about that. But that's it for today. Again, I hope you enjoyed the footage. If you like these books and like the show, you want to leave me a comment in the comments section below. But also, if you did like today's show, I encourage you, please hit that like button. And if you enjoy content like this overall, please subscribe. The channel has been really growing since the beginning of the year. The channel has really gone really well, and I hope you guys are enjoying this content. It's a variety. It's comic books every week, but it's a variety. And I keep to a schedule. As hard as it may be, I try to keep to that schedule every Monday and Friday at 10 a.m. So I try to be live on the show. If you ever want to join me, just chime on in. I'll be sitting there live. Most cases, I will be there live, and we can have a chat about the books that I'm talking about that day. And if you're ever interested in any of the books I show off on this channel, reach out to me at collectorauctions@yahoo.com or DM me on Instagram. And if you want to check out my eBay and Shortbox listings as well, I have a lot of the stuff I have already listed for sale on both of those platforms. But that's it for today, guys. Thanks for joining me. I will be here on Friday. I don't know what the show's going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be about comic books. But I'm out of here. Remember, guys, every comic has a story.